Hey, it's your old pal Lucid Stew again. We are back working with my City Streets kit. This time I want to show you the thermal-friendly billboard and lighting system I developed for city scenes. In this video we will be working in an empty version of my City Streets kit sample scene and with the following assets from the City Streets kit collection: traffic signal, street light, and empty billboard. So the first thing I want to point out about this set of assets is that traffic signal is actually 3 different sculptures grouped together. This isn't important because 2 of those sculptures make up the street light, which means the street light is free from a graphics thermal standpoint if the traffic signal is in the scene. This also means you can use those 3 sculptures independently to do various things. The signal portion is fairly specialized, but the pole and the light portion can be used in other ways. I'll separate those out and we'll take a look at a few different ideas for them. A simple shape like a pole can be quite useful. Maybe you want a flagpole, perhaps a radio antenna on top of a tall building or a spire. You can even use it as an architectural element. The light can be various sizes, and of course it doesn't have to remain with the pole. You can make a huge light like this, or you could simply jam it into the side of a building if you wanted. For the full traffic signal, you can use this to quickly create intersections. Use the grid to place the initial signal. Standard grid works fine for this. If you grab it from above on grid from near the pole's center point, that will allow you to rotate and clone to fill the entire section in one go. You do this by holding L1 and then holding R2 to make the clone. With R2 still held, move the clone to the desired spot. You can rotate it by moving your camera with the right thumbstick or by holding L2 and rotating the object. Once the second object is in place, press right D-pad a couple of times to create the outside clones. This will clone their transform placement as well as their rotation based on what you did with the initial clone relative to the first object. Then release R2 to drop the clones into the scene. Once you have a single intersection done, filling the entire scene is easy. Simply select all 4 signals and switch to a fairly coarse grid setting. Remember, this kit is designed to work on a 4 grid once the streets are laid out, so if you have something in place at one intersection, it will snap into place at the others. We just cloned and moved the intersection. You can reselect the other signals and clone all 8 now. By repeating this process, you can fill all your intersections in a matter of minutes. And you can do something similar with streetlights. The first thing you want to do is find your block midpoint. This will vary depending on how you built your blocks, but you can do this by placing a light on grid, cloning it to the far end of the block, and then pressing left D-pad once to create a single inside clone exactly halfway between the clone and the original, then delete the original and the far clone. Assuming you have your blocks laid out evenly, you can now clone this midway light on a very coarse grid. I'm using a 32 grid. With a grid this large, a block is only 4 steps in the sample scene, which makes the next block midpoint easy to find. From there, you can use the same method as with the traffic signals and make as many copies as you like. The lights are comprised of 2 sculpts, so you can add 50 lights to a scene for every 1% gameplay thermal consumed. Let's talk some about lighting, because so far this set is built for daytime and it is a work in progress, so things like nighttime elements and functioning traffic signals are coming eventually, but it will take time. An area light is one choice. The thing about area lights though is that they're more about adding color, ambiance, or decoration rather than providing functional light. You can see this while I'm trying to get it in place to illuminate the ground and the light at the same time. Ultimately, it works best with the equator of the sphere equal to ground level, but the light this provides is generally unsatisfactory. You simply have too many out of place hot areas, and the areas you want to light are kind of dim. Another option is a spotlight. Spotlights seem perfect for streetlights, They provide a pleasant light in a cone shape with shadows, just like a real street light would, but they have a couple of drawbacks. First, a lot of spotlights in a scene gets expensive fast, so if you're going to use them in this regard, you probably want to pick and choose where. The second thing is if you use a spotlight for a visible light source, that object will not be illuminated because the light will only point away from the source. To get around this, you can use an area light, or you can make your light out of a separate sculpt and turn the glow on. The area light will cost less in gameplay thermo, but the glow sculpt will look better. Another option with the glow sculpt is to simply have that be your light, since you can emit light with glow, and you can also generate shadows with it. You don't get the cone like you would with a spotlight, but the light isn't as harsh as an area light. One negative of glow is that it can create a lot of bloom. Also, to get a lot of light out of a glowing sculpt, they end up blindingly bright and can wash out the whole scene. Another thing missing from the current kit is lamps in the traffic signals, but these are easily improvised if you need them. The lamp shape is filled donut. Color those correctly and you can turn up glow to get light, and those work out very nicely. A few keyframes, a repeating timer, and a selector will give you a rudimentary changing signal. I'll have a more refined version as a contraption in the set eventually. That covers street lights and traffic signals. Let's talk a little about various billboard configurations. Empty billboard is built to be used with the pole and light parts of the traffic signal and street light, and you can do this in various ways. One of the easiest is to put two street lights next to each other and then put the billboard under them. In this configuration, the lights are a little obnoxious, so you can either remove those completely or size them down quite a bit, and both of those look pretty good. You can also do a monopole design by getting rid of one of the poles, scaling up the other quite a bit, and then sinking it into the ground. The billboard piece is quite versatile. I like to just stick it on a building facade and call it a day. You can also drop it onto a rooftop and it looks fine like that. For rooftops especially, you can also combine the billboard sculpt with tubular steel truss from the City Streets kit. Drop a couple of those down side by side and attach the billboard. You can also set roughness to 100% in the truss sculpture menus to match materials with the somewhat rusty looking metal on the billboard. And at 3 sculptures, you can put these all over your city without much thermo impact. The billboards have built-in non-functioning light fixtures, and area lights work great with to simulate those. This is especially handy because they look fine, and you don't have to worry about the shadow expense, which is nice when you have 20 or 30 lit billboards in a scene. So in this video we talked about traffic lights, street lights, and billboards in the City Streets kit, and various ways you can efficiently utilize those. More videos are coming in the Bring a Scene to Life series, as well as more asset creator spotlights coming your way, and we will get to the sculpting technique I've been teasing soon. But that's all for now. Until next time, I'll see you in the Dreamiverse.